Dr. Murli Manohar Joshi is not merely an academic, but a very well-known politician, one of the top leaders of the Bharatiya Janata Party. He has had a very eventful tenure, both as party president and as a cabinet minister. He has had many successes, and of course, as is common in India, many of these successes have come tinged with controversy. He is here to explain to us his views on the country, his role in the country, and what needs to be done to ensure that the people of India get the government and the governance they deserve. Dr. Joshi, I recall when you were the Minister for Human Resource Development, there was a considerable turmoil in some quarters about the way in which you were supposed to be manipulating textbooks in India and trying to change them. What exactly was this all about?
Mr. Nalapat, when I was the minister, there was a report of the Standing Committee of the Parliament that the education must be value-based, and these values must be incorporated in the syllabus. This was a unanimous report of the Standing Committee of the Parliament, headed by then Mr. Chavan, and signed by almost all the members belonging to all the parties. And once this recommendation was accepted, the government had to implement it.
Mr. Chavan, who was the Chief Minister of Maharashtra now?
No, his father, S.B. Chavan.
Sir Shankarrao Chavan. Oh.
So, we were implementing it and nothing else. In that case, we found that the values have to be incorporated. So what are those values? So we discussed all these things with many scholars and others and found out the very, the essence of values were also given in the report. That they are the spiritual values, the human values, and the religion can also be a source of those values. This was all written in the report. But what happened was that there was also a Supreme Court decision that whatever is offending to any religious or caste feelings cannot find a place in the textbooks. So we removed all those things. Jains were insulted in that, Jats were insulted, Sikhs were insulted, Brahmins were insulted, Vedas were insulted. So all these objectionable parts were removed from the textbooks. It was at this point then they started that, why are you removing this? Why are you doing this? Why are you saying that the Aryan theory of India's invasion is incorrect? I mean, there were basic facts. There were archaeological and historical evidences coming out to prove that there was no such thing like an Aryan invasion. So we said that, all these things have to be taught and all these things have to be incorporated in the textbooks, because one must know India in its true sense, with its all glories, with all its weaknesses and all its strengths. So we did all these things. And many of these people, especially from the leftists, they thought that if history is now corrected, and if a proper view of India's development, growth, evolution right from the earlier days is given to the students, all their theories of dividing the society, of creating hatred, north-south divide, caste divide will all break down. Therefore, they started opposing it. But the cases went right up to the Supreme Court and they found that this values education is all right, Sanskrit education is all right, education for astrology is all right. So my case was vindicated right up to the highest court of the country.
So do you believe that the kind of education system that we have been following, it does not create these values?
Yes, it does not. And the result you find. Result you find in the society. A valueless society is giving corruption. A valueless society is giving all sorts of rapes and crimes against women. Indian value system would have given a very balanced picture about the relationship between individuals, between man and woman, our approach towards this problem, this so-called gender equality, how we look at it, and what was the place of women in our society, or at least how we cherished it to be. So if we have given all these education to our children, the values which the country has been cherishing and practicing, many of these crimes could have been controlled.
So this is a value system in a sense independent of of concepts of religion and faith. It's based on a common Indian identity.
Yes, you see, the Indian identity is basically an identity which is in continuity from its origin. There are many streams which will fall in and join, but it still remains the basic identity. Say many streams join in Ganga, it remains Ganga. The river is the same. So there is an Indian identity, which I call is the Hindu identity. It continues, and many streams have joined into it. So what? If a Muslim goes for a Hajj in Makkah, he is known as a Hindu Haji has come. So this is the basic identity of this country, and it is an inclusive identity of this country. And the moment you forget it, then many things start happening. Just like you say, you are now trying to say that this is a Hindu terrorist. I'm shocked that a home minister says like this. This is something which is unacceptable, unpardonable, and I demand his resignation.
What happens if the resignation is not forthcoming?
Oh, well, the parliament will not be allowed to function. An insult to the nation is not tolerable at all. No nation will tolerate it, to characterize, to denigrate it, and by a high official of the government.
But isn't it important that Parliament should function for passing laws and for doing other work?
Parliament means what? Parliament should reflect the will of the people. The will of the people is the vast majority of this people, rather I think the entire population of this country deplores, condemns this statement of denigrating the Hindu society. This is unacceptable. And I say that, Mr. Shinde, I say that I am a Hindu, so what? Should I feel ashamed of it? I am proud of it. So did Vivekananda say. Garv se kaho hum Hindu hain. Was he terrorist? But they are celebrating the 150th anniversary of Vivekananda. And it was he who said it. And now you are saying no. You are just saying Hindu terrorism. I say this is highly deplorable.
So you're saying fundamentally that even if he apologizes, there is no way out?
Apology time is gone. He should have apologized that very day. And then he asked his secretary to name 8-10 persons who are just being investigated, under investigation. They have not yet been convicted. And
well, I would agree that one cannot link terrorism to any particular faith. There's no doubt about it. That terrorism is done by individuals and is not done by a faith. There's no doubt about it.
And if there is an evidence, one can bring before the law and let the law take its own action.
Quite. There's no question that broad categorizations based on faith are unfortunate. But of course, I do believe that Parliament, it will be good if Parliament functions.
No, Parliament functions for what? Britishers were insulting us. If you know that how India was disfoliated by the debates in the British Parliament, it went on. And abusing in Indians. They are cheats, they are thugs, they are corrupt people, they are ignorant people. They were saying all the time, and the British Parliament was functioning. Do you mean to say such things should happen? The Parliament should go on saying that the whole country is this, the Hindus are this, the Hindus are that, and you say then the Parliament should be allowed to function? What does it mean?
No, but I think it's been said by one individual.
But he is the Home Minister of this country. An ordinary individual is one thing. But a Home Minister, and is still continuing to harp on the same thing, directly or indirectly through his officers. This is, I think, not acceptable.
You were talking in terms of corruption coming into society. Now, you've been the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee, and you have been, I think, many reports have come out, and some are in the way of coming out. So, what has the Public Accounts Committee done about corruption in governance?
See, the Public Accounts Committee is a committee which takes a view either after the report from the Comptroller and Auditor General of India, or suo motu, if it finds that there is something which is needed to be inquired immediately and which has a bearing on the economy and on the functioning of the implementations of the schemes. So we take up such issues. And in some of them we did find that there were gross irregularities done both at the administrative level as well as at the political level by the ministers, by the officers, by the industrialists. This has happened, and this is happening in this country, report after report, report after report. Unfortunately, there have been serious charges leveled, I may say maliciously, tendenciously, against these institutions, against the institution of CAG and against the institution of PSC. While both of them are the watchdogs of country's financial accountability and the expenditure in the interest of the country, in the interest of the people. I say the function of the PSC chairman is to watch the journey of the rupee, from where it comes to where it goes. So I follow the rupee. When I find that the rupee is not following the path which has been designed by the parliament, I intervene. I say, no, this is not. And we do find.
Well, there has been a criticism that in your case, for example, you have tried to make this more political.
Well, I never tried to make anything political. Whatever came in record. It's not that anything has been framed or anything has been manipulated or anything which is not germane to the case study has been introduced. Nothing. What we have done is based on the basis of the documents, on the basis of the evidence, which is open.
And the Public Accounts Committee is made up of members of different
all
political parties.
All political parties. But lately what I find is this, that the misdeeds of the government are being suppressed both by the government and by the members of the ruling party. They try to suppress it. While the function of the PSC is neither to suppress nor to oppress, it's only to place the facts.
I mean, how would you justify such a comment? Suppressing is a very serious charge.
You see now, if the minister or a prime minister says that we will challenge and contest the reports of the C&AG, while the constitution says that you cannot test and challenge like this, if you have anything against the mala fide intentions of the CAG, bring an impeachment motion. I have no objection. Let them impeach him if they have if they have enough material against him. But they cannot criticize openly or hold him responsible for bringing out the irregularities and infirmities in the implementation of this scheme.
But what about the Public Accounts Committee? I mean, where is the question of affecting its activities?
No, it's because the members there, they shout, then they say that no, this report is mala fide, this CAG has joined hands with the opposition, wants to destabilize the government. No, this means you are weakening the institution. You do not want that the accountability of the government before the people of this country should remain intact. No, they say, no, we are not accountable. Who are you to question it? I am the government. You are the CGO. You may be anything, but you cannot question me. This is wrong. Constitution says, authors of the Constitution say that the CAG and PSC are the two most important institutions which must be respected, and they are the institutions which keep the government on even keel.
Do you find it easy to get information from the government on various matters?
Yes, but the government, you see, the powers of the PSC are such that the government, even if they want to, cannot conceal.
Right.
Provided the PSC remains firm.
Right.
There's no. But again, I say that this value system of the accountability of the government or of the rulers to the public is ingrained in the Indian value system. This is the peculiarity of the civilizational current in this country, that the king or the ruler or the state is accountable to the people. They have to be accountable to them. It's not an aristocratic state. It's neither a monopolistic state.
This is a very young country, and many of the young people are quite modern. More and more people are traveling abroad. You have access to the internet. You have access to various ideas. There has been, again, some criticism levied against you that you are, in a sense, opposed to modernization and to modernity, and you're talking about going back into the past.
Well, if you look what I did, all these accusations or inundations are completely baseless. I gave the fundamental right for free and compulsory education to the children between 6 and 14.
As the Minister of HRD?
As the Minister of HRD. I piloted the bill, I got it approved. So is it modern or is it backward looking? The spread of information technology education, that was during my time.
In what way?
Because the number of colleges, the number of the capacity of the colleges was increased threefold or more than threefold during my tenure. And today you will find that there is no dearth of colleges and institutions
teaching IT.
Teaching IT. Similarly, the business administration. Similarly, the large number of colleges. I opened the doors, liberated rather the higher education from the clutches of the bureaucracy. I said, no, it has to be liberalized, but not commercialized. You see, if you say to charge high fees, is modernity? Well, I disagree.
Australia is a huge area where students from all over the world come and study. United States, Great Britain. Why is India not yet a major international destination for students?
Yes, it is still a destination for poor countries. See, if you look, there are, I think, students coming from African countries, students coming from Nepal, from Malaysia, from Sri Lanka, from Thailand, from Bangladesh. Students are coming to India, and India is giving very high quality education at very less cost. This is the destination of future, because as you rightly pointed out about the colonial mindset, people still feel that an American institution degree perhaps is a better degree. But I don't think that this is always justified. There are some very good institutions there, no doubt about it. But Indian institutions are nonetheless inferior to anyone.
You will see, for example, that in terms of research, in terms of output of significant papers and discoveries, Indian universities are lagging far behind some other countries.
Yeah, that's true.
With much lesser manpower skills. What is the reason for this? Is it because there is a bureaucracy at work? Is it because there are too many restrictive rules? Is it because of bad governance?
Firstly, it is a lack of vision about India's talent and its capabilities. Secondly, the amount of money which is required for it, the government expenditure, I'm calling them, the public expenditure. These developed countries are spending huge amounts, 6, 7, 8, 9% of their GDP.
Right.
We don't spend even 3%.
On the future.
So that is one thing. Secondly, again the mindset. We have sent very good persons outside, now they are coming back, they try to introduce all those concepts and all those things which they have learned. So you are always a follower. You always follow a particular stream where already advancements have taken place. I had, as a minister, given a small slogan. India innovates. India does not copy. And India leads.
For that, there has to be an atmosphere of freedom. For example, look at the internet. Now you have got an Information Technology Act that is draconian in several of its measures.
But this is not the issue. When there was no internet, Raman got a Nobel Prize, Rabindranath Tagore got a Nobel Prize, Saha was an FRS, Bose was an FRS. What do you mean by this? The internet or a lack of facility of internet all over the country is not the issue. The issue is whether you are trying to use this internet with your own mind, with an independent mind, or with a mind obsessed with the colonial system. That's it. Why can't you use that very internet to propagate the Indian contributions to science and technology? Why can't you?
We'll take the question of energy.
Yeah.
We are talking in terms of nuclear power, but what about solar energy? It is still not developed. So, I mean, how does one make sure that technology in India takes off?
Because you still feel that the technology has come from outside.
Is better, you mean?
Not only better, but we feel that technology has been the gift of the West. No. This is what I say. That's why I was introducing all those concepts in the textbooks. India had its own contribution to technology in those days. So Indian technology, 1,000 years ago, was one of the best in the world. After all, till 1600, you were having about 24% of the world market. What about today? So, which is modern India is more progressive and economically more prosperous, or those days they were more prosperous?
I think that's an important point you raised, because if you go to Europe, the textbooks there are very clear that the European experience is very good, is the best. You go to China, you go to Japan, they say the same thing. You go to United States, you say the same thing. But in our country, somehow we, as you correctly said, I mean, we seem to be ashamed almost of ourselves and of our past.
This is why you see, without being ignorant and being obsessed with colonialism, you are saying that it is a terrorist nation. You are all the time giving all sorts of motives, including that it is a terrorist nation.
I'm not sure that was what he intended. I think it is a very unfortunate phrase in words. He used some very unfortunate language.
No, it's not. This is, again, you see, this reflects the attitude. And if it is, say you say it is unfortunate, you should have said, sir, sorry, no. They are sticking to it. No, it is there. If I am said it, okay. Now my officer is also saying it. Therefore, I say this whole attitude is responsible for the decline of India. Because you can see, you condemn your nation, you condemn your own identity, you condemn yourself. A self-condemnation will never take you forward. And I take serious objection to it. And therefore, I say any parliament which is governed by people like that has no business to function. The parliaments must inspire confidence in the people, must give them a sense of confidence and pride also in their own selves. Self-respect is the respect which you give to your own self. So Indian parliament should give respect to Indian people. And now they are saying, no, you are worthless. Kya baat hai?
But then, you know, one has to accept the fact that this is a parliament elected by the people.
Yes.
And the people will choose a parliament. So in that sense, I mean, the voter has the right to choose whomever the voter, he or she wants to do.
That's right. They have a right. And as a representative of the people, as a member of the parliament, I have also to reflect the sentiments of my people, of my electors. They want me to say, ask this question and tell them that if you don't resign, you have no business to remain in the parliament. That is the question. Therefore, it is my electorate. We are also elected from the people.
So, what I mean, are you saying that there is going to be a continuing gridlock in Parliament, and you're going to have a continuing paralysis?
It's up to the government to think. We have nothing against the functioning of the Parliament. It should. Mr. Shinde must resign. I again repeat that any person, any parliament which negates, insults, humiliates its own nation has no business to be governed by such people. Such people must be thrown out of that parliament.
Well, I don't think Parliament has done that at all.
No, but Parliament has a right to ask them.
Quite.
As a representative of the people in the Parliament, we have a right to ask them, you have said it, we don't accept you as a
So how do you see how do you see the country's politics evolving over the next 6 months?
That's a long story. It has many dimensions. But to me, one of the most important dimension is that the politics is all about giving a nation its place, not only in its own country, but in the committee of nations. And therefore, anything which has to evolve in this country and which has not been evolving for last 8 or 10 years is this, that we must recognize who are we, what is our own strength, and we must repudiate, condemn, and see that the nation is not insulted, the Hindus are not insulted, the country's pride is maintained.
Every Indian is not insulted.
Yes, Hindu and Indian in my it's an inclusive word.
This is the 21st century, and this is a very young country, as said. So what is your central idea for this 21st century and for the young people of this country?
Well, you see, I believe in the capacities, talents of the people of this country, and particularly of the younger generation. They are highly talented, highly skillful, and they have a vision. But they also want to know their roots. So I want to tell them that have a strong footing on your own ground, and sky is the limit.
There's no real dichotomy between traditionalists and modernists, that the two in sense can come together.
Well, when I say this, I explain it like this. When you walk, you don't walk with both the feet. You walk one foot very firmly rooted to the ground, and the second foot you raise high and go forward. Then this foot, which you now put on the ground, becomes the tradition, and the other foot becomes the modernity.
It keeps evolving. Tradition keeps evolving.
Tradition and modernity, they are just
Follow each other.
Therefore, to say that this is traditional, this is modern, I think is a misunderstanding of the whole evolution or the whole phenomena. You can't cut that now here the tradition ends and the modernity becomes, then tomorrow this modernity becomes the tradition.
Thank you, Dr. Joshi, for a very interesting conversation on many issues. And it's very clear that you have strong views. It's very clear that not everybody may agree with these views, but I think it's important that our political leaders have strong views and that our country is such that we have the freedom to express these views. Thank you very much, Dr. Joshi.
Thank you, Mr. Nalapat.